It does want to kill people like myself. I'm 73. I'm one of those throwaways that we've heard so much about, okay?
Say it with me. $99 trillion that you did and your cohorts up there on Capitol Hill. How are you going to look at my children?
I understand that some of you have already made up your minds.
I'll tell you what, I said on this program the other night, this crowd, in many respects, is dumber than Joe the plumber. How many pieces of videotape have we seen where people show up, they don't know what the heck they're talking about? Let's bring back our panel tonight, Roy Seekoff, also John Harwood, and former Congressman Ernest Istook. It is amazing how far misinformation goes in our society and how it gets picked up and it becomes folklore and it spins out into outer space, and the next thing you know, everybody's starting to believe it. John Harwood, this is a special set of circumstances and a real issue for the White House at this point. I want you to speak to how they're going to reverse the thinking of some of these seniors who are falling off the president when you look at the numbers. What do you think?
Boy, Ed, I think it's really, really tough to do. The president's taken this on directly several times, and we see all the administration officials trying to refute this idea of death panels and that sort of thing. It is a fact that end-of-life care consumes an awful lot of health care expenditures that doesn't really improve people's lives or longevity even. And so some of that needs to be reduced. But how do you talk about that? That's why the whole rationing discussion is so politically toxic and difficult. I think the administration is going to have to push back as well as they can, and then in the end rely on Democrats and not a lot of the Republicans whose constituents and whose voters are voicing this stuff at the town halls.
Former Congressman Istook, I want you to distance yourself tonight from this talk about a death panel, because there is no death panel. Now, do you embrace this kind of conversation by the GOP, or you decry your former colleagues for talking that way?
Well, I think there's people on both sides that are engaging in misinformation.
I'm not talking about... No, wait a minute now.
I'm going to make your point, Ed.
Okay.
There's people on both sides that are engaging in disinformation. Concerns about this particular panel are based in part upon the fact that two Oregon lawmakers, Earl Blumenauer and Ron Wyden, are the chief proponents of it, and that's coming from the state that sponsors assisted suicide. So there's an interrelationship. But when you talk about the misinformation, the Washington Post this weekend called the president's hand in an editorial on Sunday for trying to condemn the profits of health insurance companies. They pointed out that the latest ratings of industries show that health insurance companies are 35th in the level of profits, with an average profit margin of 2.2%. Well, that's what the president is trying to claim.
Profit. It's about people's lives. It's about people being denied coverage.
I'm just quoting Obama.
Well, I'm quoting Obama too. He's for a public option, and we got to have it in this country. And finally, Roy, let me ask you: what should the Obama administration do at this point to turn these numbers around?
Well, they got to do what they should have done in the beginning, which is come out stronger about specifically what they're talking about. There's too many diffuse things, and because of that, when you open the door to the crazies, Dr. Chuck Norris coming in and saying that we're going to come in and tell our kids about Jesus. You know, it's a craziness when you leave that kind of void.
It's all about disliking the President of the United States. Now, earlier tonight, thanks, fellas, for joining us. Earlier, sure, I asked you what you thought. Who's a bigger threat to health care reform? 83% said conservative Democrats. That means I'm going to keep hammering them on this show every night on MSNBC, The Ed Show. And 17% think that the town hall screamers are going to actually have an effect. The conservative Democrats, I got you in my crosshairs when it comes to commentary. You're wrong. You got to support the president on a public option.